Hey, I'm Michael David. We're talking about ancient alien research today. I'm in an enchanting library somewhere in Hollywood, a mysterious location. So we're going to start today in Ireland, kind of randomly. I want to talk about the Irish round towers. And there are 70 of them all throughout the countryside in Ireland and 3 in Scotland. And they're very tall. They're about 100 feet tall. And they're made with some complex construction methods that involve brick and mortar that the Romans used to use, but the Romans never went that far north. So they are still standing to this day because they were made so well. There's a researcher named H. O'Brien who believes they were made a long time ago by a race of giants, a group that was upon the land in Ireland, perhaps the Anunnaki. So that's why I'm including it in some of my research. So check out the round towers of Ireland. There's some beautiful pictures online, and dig into that one a little bit more. Now we're going to move over to France. There's a lot of megaliths. There's so many giant stones all lined up in rows that some believe are on ley lines or energy lines, that they can be seen from space. It's pretty incredible. So don't forget to study France and Europe when you're looking at these ancient megaliths, because there is a lot there. The one I'm going to mention is called the Grand Menhir, M-E-N-H-I-R, and it's massive. It's 300 tons. It's about 7 times the size of Stonehenge. So it's something we should know about in our field. It has broken into 4 pieces. It's laying on the ground, but still an incredible sight. And so 300 tons, you've got to realize, it's not right next to a stone quarry. Stone quarries are often very far away, very, very miles and miles away. The same with its Stonehenge. So the question is, how were they lifted up and brought there? And in our field, we believe that the Anunnaki had ancient technology and were able to move these stones, and they used them for their own purposes. There doesn't appear to be any practical reason for these giant blocks of stone all throughout Europe. So that's called the Grand Menhir in France, once again. As far as the United States, there's a couple ancient ruins I want you to know about. The Kensington stone was found in 1898 by a farmer. It's a large gray stone with runic symbols on it. So that would indicate that it's Viking symbology, and the Vikings may have been here long before Columbus exploring America, and they believed strongly in this ancient group of giants like Thor and Odin, who many of us believe are the Anunnaki. It all goes back to that. So there is some writing on this stone, and it's 200 pounds, it's 30 inches high. It talks about a group of Norsemen who traveled to the New World, who were involved in a fishing expedition, and many of them died. It kind of tells this little story. And they may have been sent by a king in Sweden, King Magnus. So check out the Kensington Runestone. The picture's online. Very interesting. And the other site is called the Newport Tower. It's a giant round tower with these arches. It doesn't fit into early American architecture. It's in Rhode Island. We know it's at least from the 16th century, maybe earlier. It was mentioned in the papers by the grandfather of Benedict Arnold, so we have some historical writings of this giant round tower. Once again, it's in Rhode Island. Apparently there's almost like a compass that points to Kensington in Minnesota, and so it may be connected. It may be pointing the way to the runestone. And that may have been a Viking remnant from maybe the earliest structure in America is perhaps the Newport Tower. There's a really interesting site in Egypt called Dendera. And if you're a serious student of ancient alien theory, you do want to know about Dendera, because when you look at a bas-relief, which is basically a picture on a wall, there's a man there holding a giant light bulb with a filament in it and a cord. And look it up online for yourself, the Dendera light bulb. And these caves were totally black in darkness, and so they did need some kind of illumination. Perhaps they had ancient technology, light bulbs. It's certainly on this bas-relief. It looks like a filament in the bulb. And this may have been, once again, been technology from the Anunnaki. And also, most people know the famous story about Dendera is that there's a picture of a helicopter or a submarine, and some ancient transportation vehicles that you can clearly see on the wall. Totally amazing, totally fascinating. You got to see it for yourself. These are just some bits and pieces. I want to talk a bit about Antarctica. There's a few ancient maps that do show the land, the mountains and the streams and the creeks and the valleys in Antarctica. And as we all know, it's been a frozen block of ice for a couple thousand years. So how did people in the 1500s have this topography and these maps that are accurate? We have the Phineus map, Fineous, that Captain Cook was using in the 1500s, and he knew all about the mountain ranges and the valleys in Antarctica. And then the Reis map as well. He was an admiral, Reis. And so the idea is that thousands of years ago, when Antarctica was dry, that the Anunnaki, or some ancient advanced group, did map out all of the area and pass the maps down to these admirals in the 1500s. I don't know another explanation. It's a huge mystery. And then I want to talk briefly about Easter Island. One thing that is a theory is that there was a giant continent called Mu. And Mu is like Atlantis, but it's in the Pacific. It's this giant island, perhaps from Japan to Hawaii to Easter Island, and it sunk all of a sudden in one day. And the Easter Island may be a little remnant from that ancient past and those ancient peoples. There are giant statues on the island. It's misleading because they're buried up to their shoulders. You have to unearth them, and then you will see that they're massive. They're 30 or 40 feet high. It's not near the stone quarry. The stone quarry's in one section of the island, so they would have to be moved all the way over and propped up. There's about 900 of these giant statues. They're facing out in the ocean. There's no practical reason for them. So I believe it's some third party, some advanced culture that had their own reasons, and certainly not any human practicality to them. The project was abandoned. If you look at the stone quarry, there's half-finished ones that were never completed. So I believe the Anunnaki did a project for a while. When it was no longer beneficial, they moved on to the next one. I think they were chasing gold and minerals, and that's what they were mostly about. So when you look into Easter Island, bear that in mind, that it was an unfinished project. It was abandoned all of a sudden, and they were miles and miles away from the stone quarry. Those are some of the key points. So thank you for watching today. Check out my full movies online at mysteryislands.net and all my clips. Thank you.